Video number 113 from MythoReligio series, Book 6, History of the Monotheist Holy Scriptures, Prologue. What is religion? Dear fellow truth seekers, this video is the prologue to the next MythoReligio book series number 6, entitled History of the Monotheist Holy Scriptures, the Tanakh, the New Testament, and the Quran. Before I begin sharing the content of this book, allow me to remind you again about what this book series or channel is all about. MythoReligio is a series of books about religious comparison studies between the stories in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism, directly from their sacred books and world mythologies, hence the name MythoReligio. After thorough research of circa 30 years, I recognize many similarities between all religious stories and even mythologies, and surprisingly, some of them are in accordance or even beyond modern science that have been proven as correct. Thus, I came to the conclusion that all religions must have come from the same source, and all these religious stories and mythologies, although heavily jumbled up, are actually telling one mega story, the true prehistory of our common ancestors. This mega story is quite different than what we have been told to believe and will truly blow your mind, as it is more fascinating than our imagination. If you have watched the earlier videos in this channel, I believe you can see some of the similarities too. If you haven't and you truly want to do a religious comparative study, I suggest that you do so. The best way to do a comprehensive religious study via this channel is by watching the videos starting from number 1 and continue until this present video, and so on. That way you will see a clear pattern. Allow me to go back for a while and summarize quickly what I have shared with you so far in my previous books and videos before we continue with the 6th book. In Book 1 and Book 2, or video number 0 or 1 until video number 52, I shared almost all main religious stories from the 5 major religions and myths from the 6 continents of the world. In Book 3, or video number 53, until video number 73, I shared the scientific theories or stories concerning the appearance of humans, i.e., the theory of evolution and the Big Bang Theory. In Book 4, or video number 74, until video number 110, I shared some alternative theories about the origin of humans as descendants of aliens from another planet, and or from the lost continents of Atlantis, Lemuria, or Mu. And in Book 5, or video number 111, I shared the prologue concerning the origin and history of the dark side that is dominating the world that we live in. I also shared the first chapter of book number 5 in video number 112. I hesitated to share the content of that book in YouTube because of the highly controversial topic, and it seems like my hesitation was correct. So I decided to stop sharing the content of that book further, although I really believe if you truly are a truth seeker, you will learn so much about what is going on in the world. I suggest that you download the book for free from my website, www.mythoreligio.com. And of course, you can also buy the other books at Amazon or the ebooks from my website. For now, I will continue with sharing the content of my 6th book, MythoReligio, History of the Monotheist Holy Scriptures, the Tanakh, the New Testament, and the Quran. Let's begin with the introduction, and here it goes. I have always been interested in myth, religion, culture, and history since as long as I could remember. I grew up in an international, interracial, and diverse religious background. When I was a child, I witnessed several unfair treatments and even clashes between religious groups that are intertwined with racial issues. I thought it was really odd. How could religion that is supposed to be universal be intertwined with racial issues? Does God belong to a certain race? It doesn't make sense. Then after I learned more about wars in the name of religions and or racial issues, my passion for these topics got even deeper. So I read any books I can get my hands on concerning these topics. Finally, I think I have found enough evidence to come up with the conclusion that I have mentioned previously. At first, I wanted to keep this conclusion to myself, as I know that this conclusion might be considered as controversial to most people in the world. But then I decided that I should share my journey with anyone who is just as confused as I was and looking for answers and open-minded enough to learn about other alternatives to what is taught by conventional science and their religious upbringing. I was taught that religion is meant to teach people how to be good. So what are these wars in the name of God all about? This is how my search for God began. It started with these questions. Would one believe in God if one was never told to do so? Would anyone convert to another religion other than the religion of their parents if they knew that the inherited religion is not the right one? Would I? Why are there so many religions? Is it good to be good because one is scared to be punished in hell? Is that really good or just plain scared? We are all taught by our parents and our religious teachers or leaders that our religion is the right one. But there are so many different religions contradicting with one another, and we are all taught the same thing by our parents and religious teachers. So, which one is the right one? Is there any? Are the stories of the prophets real? If they are, how come these stories are not recorded in history? Does God or gods really exist? Is there proof that God exists? Is it true that religion cannot be in harmony with empirical science? Is religion really necessary in life? What is religion? What is religion? To find the answer, I think the first logical step is to see what the definition of religion is. There are many definitions concerning what it is. The following is according to the Oxford English Dictionary: a strong belief in a supernatural power or powers that control human destiny. I know that many modern people think that religion is not important and primitive. However, if we look at the world today, everyone is forced to admit that religion still has a strong grip in our lives, if not even stronger than before. The clash of many religions has such a big impact on everyone's life. Just switch on any news channel on TV and/or read any historical books, and you will see what I'm talking about. Almost every war on this planet is tainted somehow by religious belief and/or racial or tribal or nationalistic issues that I believe is intertwined with one another. Although, if we dig deeper, religion might be used to justify war, which end goal is all about power and/or control over resources, which is the same thing, really. Apparently, religion has always had this impact in humans' history. Accordingly, some historians have agreed that the first societies established in human history are most likely of religious origin. Studying religion can be very complex. Many of the historical facts are intertwined, not to mention purposely or not hidden from the public, and many are contradictive. This MythoReligio book series and YouTube channel is my personal spiritual/mental journey. So this is just my conclusion of my own autodidact study for circa 30 years. I'm trying to simplify the historical facts and the scientific theories that are used to write this book series and videos. Because the purpose of this book series and videos is to become food for thought and not to make you even more confused. Therefore, if you want to have more detailed information, kindly search further personally. There are many religions in this world. Many ancient ones have perished. They are literally religions from A to Z. Aladura, Asatru, Atheism, Baha'i, Bon, Buddhism, Chao Dai, Christianity, Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox, Confucianism, Deism, Druze, Ekankar, Epicureanism, Falun Gong, Gnosticism, Hare Krishna, Hinduism, Islam, Jainism, Jehovah's Witness, Judaism, Karaites, Lutherans, Mahikari, Mithraism, Mormonism, New Age, New Thoughts, Ophians, Platonism, Quakers, Rastafari, Scientology, Seventh-day Adventist, Shinto, Sikhism, Stoicism, Taoism, Unitarian Universalism, Vajrayana, Wicca, Zen, Zoroastrianism, etc. And there are still many more. And we are not even counting the dozens or even hundreds of sects. It is not easy to put religion in certain categories, since many of the concepts are intertwined. But for the sake of simple explanation, all religions can be categorized in the following two types. 1. Polytheism is a belief that are plural gods and/or deities and/or spirits. The examples are most Hinduism sects and almost all ancient civilization religions: Egyptian, Aztec, Sumerian, Greek, Roman, etc. Polytheism also includes animism, a belief that soul inhabit all objects, from inanimate objects to plants, animal, and even natural phenomena. Pantheism, a belief that everything, the universe or nature, and God are equivalent. Shamanism, a traditional belief and practices concerned with the communication with the spirit world. Paganism, basically any other religious beliefs other than those of the main world religions. All kinds of spiritual, cultic, or beliefs of any folk religions fall into this category. And 2. Monotheism is a belief in a one creator God. There are 3 major monotheism in the world at present: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Today, there are 5 major religions that have the most influence in the world. There are, in order of the most followers, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Judaism. Although Buddhism doesn't really teach about God or gods, it teaches more about enlightenment without discussing about God. Therefore, some scholars categorize Buddhism as a philosophy and not a religion. So, how did all these religions came into existence? According to some historians today, religions are divided into stages of progression from simple to more complex societies, especially from polytheism to monotheism, and from gradual philosophical evolution to organized. Thus, the starting point is tribal societies whose religion is animistic, that involve shamans and totems. Since the group is tribal, there is no permanent sanctuary. Cultic rites center on identification with wild animals and the taming of the spirits, often of the hunted. As society developed into chiefdoms and small kingdoms, religious rites began to serve different functions. Agriculture became important, and so fertility gods were introduced, often female, as it is women who have the power to produce life. The status of the big man or chief was supported with mythic tales of heroes and demigods, whom he may have descended from. When these small kingdoms merged into larger groups, often through conquest, different cults merged. The conquest of one group by another is therefore recorded in an epic tale of the conquest of the conquered group's god by the victors. For example, some Hinduism gods and the Babylonian Marduk. Another solution was to merge different religious traditions. For example, the Romans' identification of their gods with the Greeks, and the Greeks' adoption of Anatolian, today Turkish, myth and characters. Finally, the growth of the city-state brought about progression to the most civilized level of religion, i.e. ethical monotheism, i.e. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Generally, it is believed that Judaism is the first monotheist religion in the world, although some historians say that monotheism began in Egypt with Akhenaten, a pharaoh that lived at around 14th century BCE, who has established a monotheist religion in Egypt. It is important to note, though, that the principle of monotheism on Akhenatens is quite different than the one of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Akhenaten's understanding of monotheism is stressing the uniqueness of the sun god Aten and of Akhenaten's own relationship with his god. So, for this king, there was only one god and only one person who knew the god, Akhenaten himself. However, his successor, Tutankhamen, brought polytheism back to Egypt, and some say its remnants grew into Judaism, Persian Zoroastrianism, and Greek philosophy, to endow Western society with the most progressive form of religion, i.e. Christianity. According to Wikipedia, i.e. conventional history, it is widely held that ethical monotheism, i.e. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, was encouraged by the growth of city-states. This was partly due to the role of a hierarchical society with a godlike absolute ruler. A more powerful force is needed to regulate social issues as society moved from the smaller clan to a more cosmopolitan lifestyle. Questions of justice and value that had been previously answered by the family and small tribe were now to be pursued independently. Ethical monotheism answered society's need for a moral guide and motivation. whilst a unique personal God who was sovereign over all areas of life answered people's feeling of isolation and powerlessness. So in other words, according to conventional history, religions, whether they are polytheistic or monotheistic, are invented by men. This is not according to the religious teachings themselves. I personally doubt the theory that I just quoted from Wikipedia, because archaeological findings have shown that some ancient cultures were already more cosmopolitan and more advanced than the early period of monotheistic Judaism, which began at circa 13th century BCE if counted by the age of the Tanakh, i.e. the Jewish Bible, which was given by God to Moses, specifically the Torah. As a matter of fact, the Great Pyramid of Giza remained the tallest man-made structure in the world for thousands of years, unsurpassed until the 160-meter-tall spire of Lincoln Cathedral was completed at around 1300 CE. And according to historians, the Egyptians who built the Great Pyramid were believers of polytheism, with a brief period of monotheism as mentioned previously. The more sophisticated and cosmopolitan Roman Empire and ancient Greek also had remained to believe in polytheistic religion long after the birth of Judaism. Still, many people in the West today concluded that religion is just man-made invention. But is it true? So let's analyze this together. Analyzing religion is incomplete without analyzing the source of it, God. So, who is God? Is there a supernatural power in the universe? If yes, can we prove it by science? Is there only one God or more? Before we analyze about God's existence, let's see the different view of people's belief concerning God. Basically, this can be simplified and categorized in the following groups. 1. Atheist, a person who does not believe in neither God nor gods. 2. Agnostic, a person who is skeptical in the existence of God, because he or she believes that it is not possible to have absolute knowledge of the existence of God or gods. There are many types of agnostic, from the one who says, I don't know and neither do you, or I don't know but maybe you do, or I'm not sure but open for any proofs, or I think there is a supernatural power but I don't believe in any religion, until I don't know and who cares anyway. 3. Polytheist, animist, pantheist, pagan. It is not easy to differentiate the beliefs of this group of people, because the concepts are similar and sometimes intertwined. For the sake of simple explanation, we can categorize them as polytheist, because all of these people do not believe in one creator God. 4. Monotheist, person who believes in one God. Most so-called modern and intelligent people in the world, especially in the West, belong to the atheist and agnostic groups. Most of them believe that science is the only thing that can answer all of the questions and problems in the world. They believe only in what they can see or prove by science. Appropriately, it is a common saying that religion and science cannot go together harmoniously. If this were true, I think it is totally understandable that many intelligent people become atheists or agnostics. I have to admit that this is a rational approach, because I also believe that if God exists, His guidance, i.e. religion, must be in accordance with science that has been proven as empirically correct. Anything other than this is just absurd, don't you think? Dear fellow truth seekers, herewith I'm ending this video as the prologue of MythoReligio book series number 6. In my next video, I will be sharing with you whether we can prove the existence of God or gods through science or not. At the meantime, I thank you for watching and hope to see you in my next video.